Australia has a long history of offering refuge to people fleeing persecution. In tonight's special report, we shine a light on cases where they're still pursued by their home government right here on our soil. The stories you're about to hear emerged after a secret deal was exposed. Late last year, Australia agreed to resettle two Rwandan men who had previously faced the death penalty over allegations they had slaughtered tourists in Uganda. Their arrival led to the unearthing of an alleged network of spies living in our suburbs. Political reporter Amy Greenbank has the details.
Khalisa Mubarak watches his back, even while driving. He says police advised him to scan his surrounds when on the road to avoid being followed. When Mr Mubarak arrived in Brisbane in 2012, he thought he'd be out of reach of his former home country until he received a text from an unknown international number. He's convinced it came from someone within the Rwandan government.
Even if we don't get you, we're gonna get your wife or your kids. That's the message said to me.
He and his family had just spent 2 years in witness protection in South Africa, while testifying in court that Rwandan embassy officials in Johannesburg had tried to recruit him as a spy. He refused after finding out about a murder plot, and his evidence led to the conviction of 4 men.
To die without saying anything is better you die when you're talking, because you may keep quiet, you found that you die, and you don't save other people to protect themselves.
Mr Mubarak now claims there's a similar spy network operating in Australia and says he can prove it. He has a secret recording made last year in a Gold Coast car park. He alleges that in it, an accused spy can be heard explaining how the network is run. The man can be heard criticising another agent for not following protocol, which requires all spies to pass on intelligence to the closest diplomatic mission rather than go direct to authorities in Rwanda's capital, Kigali. Intelligence experts told the ABC it's common practice for countries to place spies in their embassies, but if it goes beyond that, it can violate international diplomacy.
The concern is less about passive surveillance here and more about active black op operations to intimidate and, in worst case, kidnap or kill.
Another refugee who asked not to be identified out of fear it would endanger his relatives in Rwanda claims the country's non-resident High Commissioner to Australia threatened to execute him in 2017. High Commissioner Guillaume Kavaruganda did not respond to questions from the ABC. The tiny East African country, home to just 12 million people, hit the spotlight in the final days of the election campaign. 2 Rwandan men who had previously faced the death penalty in the US over allegations they'd slaughtered Western tourists in a Ugandan jungle had been resettled here under a so-called people swap deal with America. The Prime Minister insisted the pair were no longer suspects.
They were cleared of those particular matters.
A sentiment shared by the Rwandan community in Queensland.
And most Rwandans who live here in Queensland view these 2 gentlemen as people who may have been used as scapegoats.
2 weeks after the men's arrival came to light, Rwanda's foreign minister, who has never been to Australia before, touched down, attending a conference on the Gold Coast. It prompted some in the refugee community to question the timing, speculating he was sending a warning to stay silent.
They're prepared to invest in cutting off any lines of dissent. They control things within Rwanda pretty well. It's dissidents abroad.
This matters because hunting refugees halfway across the world undermines the entire concept of asylum and safe haven. It might be Rwanda in this instance, but the nation's leading foreign analysts say other countries like China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia and Cambodia have also been known to take similar steps here. It represents a problem for Australian sovereignty, which is why the government takes it seriously. Amy Greenbank, ABC News, Canberra.